Hi guys, here from Pax Europiana back in Vienna. Here I got my new flags. It took some time to get the Ukrainian flag because they are sold out in Europe in some areas, in my flag shop actually, because a lot of solidarity with Ukraine. But I repeat, solidarity of the people, there's a lot now, but we need to institutionalize it, and we don't do enough as European states, as European Union for Ukraine now, and this must change. Because one thing is to have Ukrainians in your home and to be nice, full of solidarity, to donate money. That's all very good. And Europe has a passion and a heart for Ukraine. And also the support for Ukraine in the EU is now there. But the problem is our politicians fail us completely. And it's about 1/3 only what European Union states, as states and as EU, spend for Ukraine compared to the United States of America. It's far away. They are spending 54 billion and Europe about 16 billion. That's 1/3. Additionally, now the EU has announced 9 billion of loans. That's very good. It's nothing bad about loans. But that's not good enough, and we have to do much more. Additionally, we need also to institutionally help Ukraine, and that will be my video about. So we need, first of all, to fix the currency of Ukraine towards the euro, not the dollar, and not the floating exchange rate, but fix it to the euro and make it convertible to the euro by a guarantee of the ECB, and adopt the euro as currency in Ukraine by a decision of the Ukrainian parliament immediately now in the second part of the year 2022 to euroize, basically completely introduce the euro for January 2023, and so basically tell everybody we are Europe and get lost if you don't like us. We do the euro thing. And it's not true, because some people say that there is then a lot of things will be more expensive. No. It didn't happen in Kosovo and in Montenegro, where they did the same, or in Slovakia. The euro makes everything expensive is insofar true because it makes everybody richer, and then they can afford things. So, but there is a market, a pressure in the market. It improves the price transparency and the price accountability, because we are then basically in one monetary system, and that's very important. So the euro is the first thing, and that Ukraine can do itself, and nobody needs to ask Macron for that one. You just do it. I'm sure the Baltics will help you, the Slovakia will help you, and many others as well, and that's the first thing. But Ukraine can do itself. The second thing is obviously the EU potential candidate status. That's the first step. The Ukrainians want to be immediately candidate status. It's impossible. Let's do the possible one. That's the status Kosovo and Bosnia have now. And now that's the start. Then comes the assessment and the process, and then the candidate status, and then membership. And if Ukraine is really very good and wants to speed up, introduce the euro. Secondly, join the EU customs union, because that Turkey has done very successfully. And that's much better than the DCFTA. So you can do a lot of things to speed up towards membership. And if you do the euro and the customs union and fast alignment, not to be complicated, because it's anyhow not a negotiation process with the EU. Don't get it wrong. And don't take the copy of the Polish, because Poland is very big in solidarity now, very good, but it is a big problem in the EU, together with Hungary, which is the worst problem, because they are fully with Russia. And Orban is in the pocket of Putin with Compromat, and that's a sad situation. But Poland is not a role model for European integration. You need to be much faster than Poland if you want to be member of 2029 and not in 40 years or something like the French consider it. And anyhow, it's also 10, that would be 7 years, that's very fast. It would normally take 15 years, but I always say 2014 is the real start of the war and of the Western integration, so 29 is 15 years, so it's logic. So here comes the point, customs union, like Turkey, very successful. Then also the euro, like Montenegro and like Kosovo, very successful. EU potential candidate status with IPA funding, like Kosovo and Bosnia have it now, very successful. That is very good. And then obviously you have to do the fast-track adaptation, like Albania has done it in the rule of law, and and in Georgia, very good, they have done it. So Ukraine must make major efforts here to Europeanize completely if you want to be fast in the EU, because ultimately the EU is same for every member country, and Ukraine must form an alliance, not to offend Georgia and Moldova and to punish them because they don't do what you like now in the war. They have their own situations. I criticize them as well. But guys, you need to make an alliance of all 9 countries. That means recognize Kosovo. Also involve all the countries in the Regional Cooperation Council, Ukraine to join the Regional Cooperation Council, that's the Sarajevo-based organization for regional cooperation, and Ukraine to lead the group of Georgia, Moldova, of Kosovo, Bosnia, Albania, and Montenegro, Macedonia, and Serbia. Serbia has now recognized joined the sanctions against Belarus. They will come around, but you have to engage all these countries, form a group to open the EU together, because only as 9 countries together, of course Ukraine is most important, has double the population, but the other 20 million, you 40 and they 20, 60, a bit more maybe, but roughly that's the situation. And then this 60, all in all maybe 64 million people, now a lot of them are already in the EU, so let's form together and form an alliance of 9 countries for EU 36, and then the UK to be back, that's 37 in my calculation. It's correct, yeah. So let's form this alliance. I have made it already 5 years ago. Call it the Odessa dialogue, call it the Sarajevo dialogue, call it the EU 37, whatever you name it, yeah. But you need to do the structure inside the Regional Cooperation Council in Sarajevo, maybe relocate it to Macedonia or to Moldova or to Ukraine, and to form together. And no, Guam is not the alternative to be with Azerbaijan. That's a completely different category of a country, like Turkey, even less integrated. It's non-aligned country. It's in CIS. So that's very good to be friendly with them in a bilateral basis, and you can keep Guam as a separate organization. Guam is the organization of Moldova, Georgia, and Azerbaijan and Ukraine, but you need one where all the 9 countries, and that can only be the RCC, the successor of the Stability Pact, to be together and to then join the EU together as these 9 organizations, 9 countries, and that is the task of Ukraine. And you need to do the euro for everybody, you need to do the customs union for everybody, and of course join NATO. And NATO is not the way for the Third World War. It's the absolute logical and only settlement for peace in Ukraine at the moment. Yeah? Because Ukraine can probably, you know, let's now 2 scenarios. Ukraine will reconquer Crimea and Donbass and then accept neutrality for unity, Austrian style, and the Russians will be happy. I don't think so. First of all, it will be very difficult to convince the Americans, who are the key financial and military backer of Ukraine today, to get the Reconquista okayed, green lighted from the Americans in Crimea and in Donbass. It's possible. Technically, militarily, maybe. It's also that they will approve it, but it's in the world of Russia, it's an attack on Russia if you attack and reconquer Crimea. So that's a huge different level of a conflict and of a war. So I don't think that there will be the green light for that. So what is absolutely the way for Ukraine to do it is to reconquer Kherson and all the territory which was occupied by Russia after the 24th of February, and then basically all the newly lost territories to reconquer that now in a big summer offensive, and then to offer to the Americans and to the Europeans, to the NATO allies, a ceasefire based on NATO membership of free Ukraine, same like Western Germany had it in 55. So basically there will be, the old contact line will be the new semi-border, not a full border, because there will be never any recognition of Crimean Donbass occupation, as it was not with the case of Eastern Germany. The Western Germans have never recognized it. But we come to some stability here, and we will have a NATO membership to secure it and also to make the Ukrainians accept this situation. Because, of course, everybody in Ukraine wants to make reconquest now of Crimea and of Donbass because they are winning. And it's, of course, very hard. I'll compare it also with the time of '95 in Bosnia, after the Americans were backing with the Washington Agreement of '94, they were backing the Croatian Muslim Bosnian forces and they were winning. They were close to taking Banja Luka and putting the Serbs completely in a defeat. Yeah? But the Americans have stopped them and said, this is too much, you stop it now. And the Bosnians are angry to this day. And of course, Bosnia is difficult, but the Americans were not backing the full Reconquista. which would have been, of course, much more clearer situation. But of course, the Americans will not back such a brutal policy, because there is a lot of people in Bosnia and Serbia which really were also, of course, not Bosnians and Bosnian citizens, yes, but you have to see the situation that after 8 years in Eastern Donbass and in Crimea occupied, there will be a lot of resistance. And then you can say that's legitimate and kind of legal, the Reconquista, but the Americans will not approve it, I'm pretty confidently sure. And so the way for the Ukrainians to negotiate is, yes, we reconquer basically the newly lost territories. That is absolutely legitimate. The Americans will back it, and then before the armistice ceasefire to be effective, then in September, I would estimate, it is important to have immediate NATO membership, because just EU membership is meaning that only the European allies will guarantee the security of Ukraine. That's nonsense, yeah? Because we don't have the military capacity, as it's now very clear. So the Americans should back this security guarantee. And why to have then individual security guarantees of individual NATO members? If we have a EU member, Ukraine, it's very logical that all of us in the structure we have, and we have only NATO as a defense structure, and not the Northern Europeans alone to secure NATO, and the Germans and the French are leaning back. No, it should be NATO securing then a free Ukraine in the 23rd of February lines. And that's not perfect. And of course, you know, the option of German reunification, Ukrainian unification is the model. Yes, absolutely. That will come after the fall of Putin and once the time is ripe for that one. But not immediately. But in order to get Ukraine then secured, NATO membership or free Ukraine is the only way. And that will be, of course, the task. And then we have to convince all the NATO members. At that time, it will be already 35. That will also not be easy. But, you know, we are not there in easy times. And that's the way to do it. And that's what I call for. NATO membership on the model of Western Germany, EU model of the model of Western Germany, because then, of course, when they are, and the Euro, obviously, so then the offer for occupied Donbass after some years, after 10 years, yeah, because there in Donbass, the optimum would be, of course, to have UN missions, which I call since 5 years for UN mission on Ukraine, on Donbass and on Crimea. And that would be also a very good idea, by the way. After 10 years, then, of course, it will be very attractive for them to return, like Saxonia and Thuringia, into already NATO, EU member and Euro Ukraine. So I think that's very logical. And that's what I'm calling for. And that's the way for peace and for stability. And then we will see what happens in Russia, and they will decline, they will fall apart, they will be in big crisis. But at least Ukraine, and the Ukraine as a well-armed shield, yeah, will be in a good position to defend Europe for the long term inside NATO and inside the Euro. They will be strong financially, and with the Euro, it's the firm fundament. Also very important argument, because I'm calling for a 1.5 trillion package of a recovery 2+0 2022 package, like in Corona we did this first time Euro bonds, Euro debts. Yeah? So we need a second package, 1.3 trillion. We need to remove Lindner if he is opposed, yeah, because he is a big problem here. And then, of course, the situation is that this new package must be then based on a firm fundament. Because putting this, I think reconstruction is estimated 700 billion in Ukraine, and integration and all these things. So putting it on another currency is like putting all this money on a sand. You build a skyscraper on sand. Yeah? No, it must be on the rock of the Euro. The Euro, some people criticize it, it has also inflation and problems. Yeah? But at the end of the day, it's one common problem for all of us. And so we swim in one ocean of the Euro. And that might be better managed, maybe. I have many opinions about that one. Watch the video about the Euro. And I made it on the podcast as well. In short, we should redistribute more in the real fiscal transfers and not via the Euro. That's the basic problem of the Euro, because we don't redistribute between the poorer and richer regions of Europe enough. And so the kind of disparity comes in the monetary system. That is the big problem underlying. So we need, like I said now, we have done the Corona package, mostly for the Southern Europeans. Now the second one is for the Eastern Europeans. And that's the big package for EU enlargement, 1.5 trillion, and then we can go ahead, and it's not dangerous for our debt level. We just have to make better economics, like opening to the West. Now America is building the free trade agreement with Japan. So let's do this free trade agreement with America, ratify Mercosur, do the ASEAN deal, and open up with India. You see how all important are the things. I'm talking 20 years now, and we missed it. Yeah? We missed 20 years with Macron's French kind of hijacking, and the before, they were all the same. Sarkozy, Hollande, yeah? They were all a disaster. And they were hijacking our trade policy in the name of some green, do-good agenda, and we were all failing, and we got poorer by it, and the Chinese were winning, and the Russians were winning, and this is a disaster policy of the French. Yeah? So let's also not get distracted from the French, because they are on the decline, and they should be removed from power, and we can do a Europe without the French, no problem. They can just be in the customs union. Thank you very much. Yeah? If Macron wants a political union, yeah, outside of the EU, he can join the communities and we do the EU. Thank you very much. No, please, honestly, it's not serious what Macron is doing. I'm very offended. So situation is, Ukraine must be in the EU, in NATO and in the Euro. So simple. Customs union is the way, the Euro adoption is the way, and Ukraine recognized Kosovo. It must be a federal Ukraine in a federal Europe. No kind of federalization like we have it in this Russian model where Donbass is somehow blocking the Western integration. No, but really strong regions like Austria, like California, like Steiermark. We all have federal systems in Germany, Austria and Canada, and that's the way to do it, Ukraine. Please give rights and powers, responsibilities and budgets for economic development to the regions, and you have a good second chamber which is representing the regions, like we have US Senate and we have Bundesrat, and that's very logical. And then you have to go fully into the EU of the regions, of a federal Europe. And that's the way to do it. And then you make these breakaway regions an offer. Come on, we are very good. We are much richer than Russia, because that's at the moment not the case. Ukraine is about 1/3 of the wealth level of Russia. Of course, they are a petrol economy. But we have to make sure that Ukraine is 3 times richer than Russia. And Romania is on that way already. It's significantly richer than Russia already, about 50%. And now we have to make sure that Ukraine joins and adopts the Romanian model, the Bulgarian model, comes up to this level of overtaking Russia. That's the task of the next decade. And then from that level to be 3 times richer than Russia. And then all the breakaway regions will come back again, because it's much better to be in Ukraine, in NATO, EU and the Euro. And that's the way to do it. So, Slava Ukraine, please win the war, and please supply Ukraine all the weapons in the world, and please make sure that we solve it institutionally and with money. This is very important, and that's my message on this beautiful Monday morning on day 86 of the war in Ukraine. And please make sure that Ukraine wins this terrible war, and of course that Russia is losing it. This is very important, and all European politicians should be very clear on that message. Thanks a lot. Slava Ukraine. Geroj Slava.